Hey guys, welcome back to the First Methodist Shreveport podcast. I'm here with Audrius Reed with the Shreveport Bar Foundation. Audrius, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing good. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Good.
Just a little nervous.
Well, you're going to do great. I have utmost confidence in you.
It's one of us.
Well, we can start out talking about you. How did you get to where you're at with the Shreveport Bar Foundation? Or what do you do with the Shreveport Bar Foundation?
So presently with the Shreveport Bar Foundation, I am one of the program attorneys for the LRVDV program. And it's a mouthful, but that stands for Legal Representation for Victims of Domestic Violence.
Okay.
It's a very large but small part of the Shreveport Bar Foundation's programs and initiatives, and it's the only part that actually offers some type of representation to anyone in this area.
Okay. Nice. And so you are like an actual lawyer?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Unfortunately. just sometimes. Just kidding.
No. I'm sure plenty of friends have asked you, or how do I get out of jury duty?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, lots of that.
Not that anyone ever actually does. Cool. But what does the Shreveport Bar Foundation do?
So the Shreveport Bar Foundation has a mission to basically bridge the gap for individuals who are in need of some type of access to legal resources. And as previously stated, we're not always able to offer representation, but we do offer different types of programs and resources to bridge that gap for other individuals who may not have access to attorneys or legal advice otherwise. So, for instance, we offer an Ask a Lawyer clinic every third Monday of the month, right up the street, 625 Texas Street, 5 o'clock, in line. Where they're able to come in and sit down with an attorney and speak about whatever their legal issue or question is one-on-one. Okay. They're not required to call an attorney's office, schedule an appointment, pay for a consultation during normal office hours. They're able to come after work, speak to attorneys, again, one-on-one about their legal concerns or questions, issues.
Yeah.
So that's, helped a lot of individuals around here. Again, we have the LRVDV program where we assist victims of domestic violence in all realms with filing and representation on protective orders. We do that for Caddo District Court, for Bossier District Court, as well as Juvenile Court. Mm-hmm. We also offer, we have a partnership with Acadiana Legal Services, wherein we have a pro bono project that can offer some legal assistance or representation, where we take individuals who are referred to us from Acadiana Legal Services who would qualify for their program, but they don't have the means to meet their legal needs for representation. So we have attorneys who are willing to take on those cases pro bono.
Oh, wow.
Not necessarily directly through our office, but, they're on a list where they've vowed their time to take on those cases pro bono.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you said it's, when can people go and get the free legal advice?
That's every third Monday of the month.
Okay.
At the Shreveport Bar Center. It's 625 Texas Street. We request that you be in line around 4:30, 5 o'clock to make sure that you're seen for that evening and that we're not there till 11 p.m.
Nice. And so what are most of the cases that y'all take on, or what are most of the common legal questions that people have when they come there?
A lot of times with the elderly, it's Social Security type deals, estate planning matters. We see a lot of individuals that have questions regarding divorce and custody. Every now and then we may get someone that has a criminal issue, but what we always advise them is that they have constitutional rights to representation for criminal matters, so we don't give advice for those types of things because they have a right to an attorney, through the criminal process.
Okay. So it's mostly just people who are needing help with wills and stuff like that?
Yeah, wills, custody, divorces. We get the consumer complaint here and there, Social Security complaint, fight with their neighbors about tree lines and things like that every now and then, but it's mostly, for the most part, domestic type matters like custody, divorces, things like that.
I do have a question about the tree line stuff.
Okay.
So I've been told that if someone's tree is on, like the roots are in their property, but the limbs are growing over into your property, you can cut at the property line, their tree.
Well, Corey, for that, I'm going to give the typical legal response when you don't quite know because there's so many factors that play along with that. It depends.
Okay.
So you just have to consult with someone that
No.
can, give you some more specified advice on
Yeah.
that based on what's really going on, the survey of the property, any insurances that may be active, and all of those things.
Okay. And just in case my neighbor's watching, I'm not going to cut your trees. I promise. I was just genuinely curious because I've heard that. And so whenever it comes to things like legal disputes and did you mention the like domestic abuse and
Yes.
things like that? So when those cases come about, do y'all represent those people as well, or do you just put them in contact with a lawyer that can help them?
So if anyone reaches out to our office, be it on the phone, if they come to the door, or if they file on their own, or they come to the Ask a Lawyer clinic and it's regarding a protective order matter, we're able to offer representation if it's in
Okay.
Caddo District Court, Bossier District Court, or Juvenile Court.
Okay.
We have a form that's attached with the protective orders that are in District Court's clerk's office, as well as Juvenile Court's clerk's office, and Bossier Parish Court's clerk's office. It's a mouthful. Where they can basically write on there that they would like representation for that matter instead of proceeding on representing themselves. And so when we get those referrals, we have them come in for an intake appointment. We assess the situation. And if the merits and allegations of their petition aligns with the merits of our program, then we offer representation to them.
Okay. And it's still free of charge?
Well, we do assess a $50 admin fee.
Okay.
But say for instance, if we proceed through the process for the protective order, and it is granted, we request that the court assess that fee to the defendant.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. And so I'm sure there's been plenty of people who have benefited from this program.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Are there any like stories or anything you can tell, or?
One that comes to mind, I had a client maybe about a couple of years ago. She came in and she had been going through years and years of a abusive relationship with her kid's father. When she came in for her intake appointment, it was pretty emotional because not only was she sharing her experiences with that relationship and the effects that it had on her and their children, she reached into her bag and she showed me a news article that her grandmother had given to her several years before. Her grandmother had passed about that time. But the news article was actually a article that was made about our program. And she had held on to it for so long. And her grandmother gave it to her because she said at some point she knew that she would need it. Well, we were able to get her a protective order for the maximum amount of time. And we actually just heard maybe about 2 weeks ago that her children's father was convicted in criminal court for those offenses and is facing up to 30 years in jail right now.
Goodness.
So that's one of the biggest success stories that I could think about. When
That's
she
awesome.
gave me that article from her grandmother, it really, gave me chills because, things really came full circle.
And that's great. So when getting the word out about the Shreveport Bar Foundation, what's the best way to do that?
We have a Facebook page,
Okay.
both the Shreveport Bar Foundation and the Shreveport Bar Association. We have the information about our Ask a Lawyer clinic. We have information about our partnerships with Acadiana Legal Services on there. And we also have an events coordinator that, and that may not be her actual title, but she's really great. She sets up different events around the city with other organizations, other attorneys, other, businesses,
Yeah.
to meet the needs of the public in any way that, they can be tied to or related to the law or any legal need. So Lene is really great about that. She keeps our Facebook pages updated. So our Facebook page, the Shreveport Bar Foundation, we also have the Shreveport Bar Foundation Pro Bono Project, offers a ton of information about what we have going on and how to get in touch with us if you need our services.
Nice. And how long has the Shreveport Bar Foundation been around? Or
I
is
know
it
we
just
discuss no hard questions. I have no idea, but it's been around for a very, very, very long time.
Well, that's great. And it's just funny because, I didn't mean to try to trip you up or anything, but it's just like, this sounds like such a great thing for the community.
Oh,
Because,
yes.
legal stuff is, a realm that not a lot of people have any sort of knowledge about.
Right. And we understand that. And so we want to help bridge that gap as much as possible.
Yeah.
Our executive director has been there, I know, almost 30 years, and she's absolutely amazing with reaching out to various different entities, religious organizations, nonprofits, other businesses, and they just keep us going.
Nice. And so, like, again, it's just wills and legal disputes, all the kinds of things that you would normally have to hire a lawyer for. Y'all are willing to look at pro bono, as long as you get there first Monday of each month.
Third Monday.
Monday of
Yeah,
each
third
month.
Monday of the month, you're able to come in, sit down, speak to an attorney about your issue. Sometimes those attorneys take on those matters pro bono. Sometimes they will take on those matters at a reduced fee. They're able to make personalized referrals or recommendations for attorneys that are better equipped to handle those matters.
Nice.
And if those potential clients do meet the eligibility requirements for Acadiana Legal Services, we assist in making sure they're screened ahead of time and forwarded over to them for their assistance.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. And how does First Methodist Shreveport play into the Shreveport Bar Foundation?
Well, oh goodness.
I know.
First Methodist is actually one of our grant providers.
Okay.
So they assist us with some of the funding that we need to keep the programs that we have rolling along. And we're grateful to First Methodist for that.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And so can people send people your way if they know of like maybe a more intense legal dispute like domestic violence or things like that? Yes,
definitely. We operate on a come to the door type, plan. Our office is at 625 Texas Street, directly across the street from Rhino Cafe. We have a buzzer. You can come by and just, ask a question. And then we'll make sure that we address your concern as much as possible. If it's that, if that is referring you to the Ask a Lawyer clinic, if it's giving you the phone number for another agency or department that is able to address your situation head on, if it's, giving you the contact information for, another jurisdiction. We have a lot of people that come by and say, hey, I'm down in Mansfield and they told me that I need to come here. Well, if we don't service that area for whatever that particular concern is, we'll put them in contact with someone who does.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
In addition to that, our Pro Bono Project kiosk also sells pro se forms that have been approved by the court. So, say, for instance, if it's someone who comes in and says, look, my spouse and I have been separated for 2 years now. We don't have any children, or we do have children, but we've been separated for the amount of time the law requires. I don't really think I need an attorney. I don't think I need to speak to anyone. I'm kind of knowledgeable about how the process goes. I just need a little help with the documents that get filed with the court.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have forms that have already been approved by the court that we're able to sell for a pretty inexpensive fee.
Okay.
And they just get those forms, they fill in the blank with the appropriate information, they take it up the street to the courthouse and get it filed. And, we've saved them the headache of trying to figure out what goes into, a petition for divorce or a petition for custody. So we do offer those services as well.
That's interesting. So I did not know that. So people could be separated for up to 2 years and then it's just a divorce at that point?
Yeah.
Like instead of having to go through the whole legal process of a divorce?
Well, they still have to go through the process of it, but if they've been separated for the amount of time the law requires, then, that takes a lot of the waiting and legwork out of, getting an attorney and figuring out what to do next, or just sitting around twiddling your fingers. I've had people that come through the Ask a Lawyer clinic that have been divorced for several years. They're just like, hey, I'm ready to get married again. I need to get this paperwork filed so I can do that.
Good.
Yeah. It's bizarre sometimes.
Oh, goodness. Do you ever have people just come in and like ask random legal questions just for the sake of knowing? Like, can I cut my
can't
neighbor's
say
trees?
that I've had that. We have had people that have come in a lot of times for essentially the same thing. And we don't turn them away based on that. We try to answer them as, best as possible, and address any new concerns that they may have. But I think, there are some people that definitely are repeat visitors with the same issue essentially. But,
Yeah. Nice. Well, how can we continue to help you out as a First Methodist Shreveport?
Well, if any of your admin offices gets any inquiries about any legal issues or concerns, we'd be grateful for you to just refer them down to 625 Texas and let us assist wherever necessary.
Nice.
We greatly appreciate that.
All right. Well, excellent. And I think Lene.
Yes,
Was
Lene. She's amazing.
Is
She
she
has
gonna-
all the knowledge about all the things and all the events that are coming up.
All right. Excellent. Well, let's talk to Lene then.
All righty.
Lene, how are you?
Hey, Corey, I'm good.
Good. Glad you're here as well.
Yes.
It's not very often we get like a 2-for-1 podcast.
I know, right? You didn't even know.
Right? And could you bring in the mic
Yes.
just a little bit? There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so are we good? Okay. So, Lene, what do you do with the Shreveport Bar Foundation?
So, Audrey's was basically correct. My official title, I suppose, is the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator
Okay.
for the Shreveport Bar Foundation. She was right. She was right.
Nice. And so I'm sure
Yes.
that's more than just Facebook.
Correct. Yes. Actually, we do post all of our events on our Facebook page, which is a really long name. It's the Shreveport Bar Foundation Pro Bono Project.
All right. That is a long
I don't know
Facebook
who
page.
did that, but that's what it is, and that's where you can go. So the main part of what I do, besides getting the word out like this, is planning free legal education.
Okay.
So it's not legal advice or legal representation, but it's free education to the underserved populations of Caddo and Bossier Parish.
Okay.
So I get to figure out what people need to hear about and try to make sure that people can come and they get access to the events, you could call them events, that I do. So, for example, one of the very first events, I've only been doing this for a little over a year now, a grant was given to us to start specifically this program, which is really, really neat. One of the first ones I did was here at First Methodist,
Oh, cool.
and it was on immigration.
Okay.
Yeah, so come to find out, right when I first started, I don't even know how I came about this realization, but there's a huge, huge need in our community for an immigration attorney. There is not one here in Shreveport, and so if you get more acquainted with Samuel Zapata here and the church that meets, why I'm blanking on the name.
Palabra Viva.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So he was just a huge help, and we had close to 40 people here
Oh, wow.
for that event in the chapel.
Nice. And so when it comes to like the immigration aspect of it, you said there's not a immigration specialist here.
There's not.
And so what are most of those people looking for? Obviously citizenship to the US or
A lot of different questions. There are people who are here who are not U.S. citizens, and there are issues that arise, obviously, because of that.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people, you have to go to court in New Orleans or Dallas when you're trying, anytime you have to go, that's where you're going to have to go, and that's far. And if you have an attorney, the attorney obviously needs to go to court with you. And so that seems to be, I am not an attorney, obviously. But I think that's one of the reasons why we don't have one here, is because it is hard for the attorney, if they do it a lot, to travel.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of people need help, with their work visas and green cards, or some issue has arisen and they're scared, and they don't know what to do. And unfortunately, some people are taken advantage of. So it was really neat to just have a safe place here at First Methodist for them to come and feel like they can ask questions. Nobody spoke English that came. I think there were, maybe 2, but obviously I had translators and stuff. So we were here for a while.
That's awesome. And so, like, in that situation, were there people who, I guess, does the Shreveport Bar Foundation would they provide attorneys to go to New Orleans or Dallas with those people?
We do not have an immigration attorney with the Shreveport Bar Foundation. So all I could do, I spent a lot of time figuring out who had experience with immigration that lived here. And I found someone, and she came and volunteered her time, just like Audrius does. I mean, yes, Audrius is one of our staff attorneys, but she volunteers a lot of her time. A lot. Audrius has done events for me as well. So I find attorneys who, out of the goodness of their heart, volunteer a couple hours here and there to come and do the event. So essentially it's, everything is free. All the events that I do is free, and the attorneys are doing it for free. And so that's just what my job is, if that makes sense too. So we don't have someone who can go to New Orleans. They have to pay somebody to do that.
Nice. Okay, so the event is just to answer questions that they have.
It's education.
Okay.
Yes, and I have to preface that obviously with every event that I do. This is not legal advice. This is not the attorney, providing you legal representation. This is just education. It's true education, obviously the best, information we can give, but in the legal world, you just preface everything with this is, it depends.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends if I can cut my neighbor's trees or not.
That's right. I knew she was going to say, I was like, it depends.
So what other events do y'all have? Like, besides immigration, are there other, because I think you said that there are specific things in Shreveport that need serving. And so what are those things that you found?
So I try to do at least 2 to 3 events a month. So
wow.
A lot. So just for example, next week I have a first time home buyers event. So I'm bringing in a title attorney, and a loan officer and realtor as well. But people want to know about what they need to do from a legal standpoint buying a house. And then it just made sense to add those other people in with it. And then we're doing a wills and succession event with legal aid this month. I've started to bring in attorneys at the high schools to talk about the issues that teenagers are dealing with, and trying to give them information about maybe you shouldn't do these things, and this is how you can avoid ending up in juvenile court, but really just all the challenges that we face with teens with their phones and social media and all the things that come with that. So we're starting to get into the high schools, which I'm really excited about. So those are just a few of the examples that we're doing.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I laughed, but the high school, so what specifically are most kids having trouble with the law with in high school? Because it's been a few years since I've been in high school.
I mean, this is a church podcast, but sexting is like a huge a huge thing. They get in a lot of trouble with vaping or fentanyl, some drug related things tied to vaping, and relationships, just knowing age gaps. You're in a tight range there from the age of 14 to 18, and that can cause issues from females and males. And obviously there's alcohol, but I feel like, things surpass alcohol and drugs nowadays, just with these phones. And so a lot of it stems from the phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. So those are the topics that we're going to try to reach at Bird. And it's different at different high schools. I mean, your magnet students are going to be a little different than your students, the general population at Bird, which is also going to be different from the, population at Huntington or Booker T. But it's different, and I don't know, it's kind of all the same. It's just the students, some of them, are going to be more attentive and some aren't. So you just have to be aware of your audience.
Yeah. Have you noticed a change, like when you bring that sort of legal advice to younger people? Like, are they receptive or?
Yes, because the ones who are listening anyway are the ones who want to know. And that's the whole thing about legal education, is that a lot of people just don't know. And when you can get, that's what's wonderful about what we do, is if you can get the information to people ahead of time, at least then they have the option to choose what they want to do. Like, it's like, okay, now you have the knowledge of, like, before you pass away, like, if you have a plan, a will, succession in place, even when you're 25 or whatever, like, you can avoid your children arguing with each other if you just write on a sheet of paper and sign and date it. Does that make sense? So, like, that's what I love about what we get to do, is, like, let's give the information to at least help these kids know, okay, like, this is how you can avoid being in this situation. And this is what to stay away from. And maybe think about, like, if you're going to send this picture, maybe you should think about, like, that's never really going to disappear.
Yeah, for sure.
So
do y'all go over the, I guess, system that would take place if they were to get arrested? Because the only reason I ask this is because we had a podcast recently with someone from Goodwill, and Goodwill in our area usually hires people who are recently incarcerated or gets them back on their feet. And we got to go over just how lengthy of a system it is to get out from under once you're even in the system.
Yeah, definitely. Justice Creighton did that a while ago at Bird, and we might do an event there in 2 weeks. We're still working on the date, and we're thinking about bringing in someone from juvenile court, and also having one of the police officers share as well. So, yes. Yeah, just because that helps a little bit if it's like, hey, maybe don't make the same mistake that I did, because now I'm having to serve time, or, just, so we try to, it's not like we want to inflict fear on people. That's not the point, but, just sometimes stories are helpful.
Yeah. Show realistic consequences for what could happen.
Yes. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do it again. We're trying to make that happen. Justice Creighton, if he can do it, he will do it.
Well, good deal. So what other events outside of high school and, we talked about the wills and stuff. Are there, I'm sure this is a little bit more difficult, but Audrey has talked about the spousal or domestic violence and things like that. I'm sure those are not as much, you don't want to put on an event for those people to come to, because I'm sure it's a bit more sensitive.
The Domestic Violence Month is in October, and so we've tried to do those events in the past and haven't had success with people showing up to them, but we will still do them just because you just got to keep trying and see what works or doesn't. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of, I mean, my big thing is I just try to meet with other nonprofits or churches to figure out if there's a need, I want to know about it so I can plan an event about it. And there are plenty of attorneys who, if I ask them, they are more than willing to volunteer their time.
Yeah.
So the options are endless. It's just a matter of finding someone who's willing to partner with me, and I'll make an event out of whatever people want to make an event out of.
Nice. And so if people just have like a legal, or if enough people have like a legal question around a specific area, like that's where you would
Oh,
create
yeah.
an
I
event,
mean,
or-
for example, somebody approached me. She's the owner of Jimmy John's. And so
Okay.
she's a small business owner. And she has been asking for me to do something on employment law. And so she said, "Can you do something on that?" I said, "Sure." When do you want to do it?
All right.
So we're planning one of those at Fat Calf on, the first week of October. So
Nice.
she just wants to know, she's had some things come up and wants to know how she can protect herself as an employer of a small business. And so, I was thinking about the employees, but employers, have to cover themselves as well because things happen.
And so in those events, like how can people have those events hosted at their, excuse me, like if they have a event like workplace etiquette or things like that, or if people have or want to have legal counsel like what you were talking about for high schoolers brought to their church, like how do they get in touch with you?
So they can email me
Okay.
at lmajor, although I should spell it because my name is really weird. It's Major, but it looks like Magyar. So LMAGYAR
Yeah.
at shreveportbar.com. So maybe they can like flash
We'll
that on
have
the
that.
screen or something. lmajor at shreveportbar.com. And then
Okay.
I would love for people to follow us on Facebook, Shreveport Bar Foundation Pro Bono Project.
Okay.
And message us there and just say, "Hey, Lene, please contact me. I want to do an event on X, Y, or Z."
Okay.
So email or the Facebook page.
Nice. And so would it be just like people emailing or sending a message on there directly, and then like if enough people, I guess, interact with that
I would
post?
plan it, and I would
Okay.
make sure people come.
All right. Okay. Easy enough then.
We did it was a Women in Business month. It was my first event, actually, with Audrius and another wonderful attorney. Her name is Ebony Norris. And so it was just like helping females figure out what they need to do to start a business. And that was almost a year ago. I was very pregnant, or it was over a year ago, but very pregnant, and actually in labor. Like I started to be in labor during the event, and I had just met Audrius, and it was, I was like, okay, we're going to have to wrap this up
Oh,
because
wow.
like, I think I'm going to have a baby tonight. So I'm like, Audrius, I got to go.
Was that
I
your
was like, you got this.
first baby or?
So my second child.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay, so at least you knew like what the signs were and you knew when it was time
I
to
didn't
go.
because my first child, like my water broke,
Yeah.
like, which is not, I mean, that doesn't, you think that normally happens, but that's just what happened. And then I didn't like start going into labor till like 3 hours later.
Oh, wow.
But this was like, yeah, it was very like, I was kind of like, am I or am I not? It was very, anyway, I had the baby not very long after. So I'm glad that we wrapped that up and I headed home.
Right. Good deal.
But it was a really sweet event just to see Audrius and Ebony. I mean, I think there was one man there, but mostly females, just connecting, and like, it was just a really sweet time.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm curious now. So when it comes to females starting a business,
You might have to bring Audrius back in here, but I'll try. I can't give you legal advice. It depends.
yeah, okay. It
I'm just kidding.
depends.
What were you going to ask?
I mean, I was just like a blanket curiosity
Yeah.
about like or what barriers are there or things like that.
Oh, I mean, just taxes and money and, how do I, again, like Audrius there's things, things you have to set up if you want to start a business in your name and who has that name and filing with the, I don't own a business, so I've never done it, but Audrius has her own business.
Audrius is the person to talk to.
She is an attorney.
Nice. Well, did we miss anything, or is there anything that we need to know about the Shreveport Bar Foundation that we haven't talked about, or any stories you want to put out there?
I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have definitely appreciated it, and hopefully you'll have some more events to plan real soon.
Definitely. Thank you for having us, and thank you again to First Methodist for your support to our program. It's just so wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we will see y'all next time.